Hi, welcome to the InterAxis YouTube channel, interaxis.io. Today we're going to talk about Zapper.Fi, and this goes back to our discussion about the next generation of asset management, the next generation of financial architects, the people who are going to be building the asset management tools, the wealth management, the income management tools that we are going to be using in the years and decades to come. And this is where we get to Zapper.Fi. So Zapper was created of a kind of a merger between DeFi Zap, which we've talked about before, and DeFi Snap, which gave you the ability to have a dashboard and look across all of your kind of DeFi protocols, all of your DeFi investments. So these got together in, I guess, kind of one of the first mergers in the DeFi world, and created Zapper. And one of the great parts is you can connect to Zapper and connect your wallet or your wallets and see what see what the values are, see what tokens you hold. But then from that dashboard, you can actually go through some of the Zapper zaps. You can invest in some of these protocols, but the great part is it's not like you're just buying ETH or transferring your ETH into some other token. What you're doing is you're giving yourself an ability to grow and create income, and you're doing it all in one transaction. And we're going to talk a little bit about how this works, because of course in DeFi you have all these different incentive structures. Okay, so you have obviously growth, right, which is like almost like a buy and hold, right? I just want to buy ETH or buy Link or Synthetics or something and just watch them go up in value. Okay, that's one way to just grow your assets, is I just want to buy it and hold it in my wallet and watch it grow. Okay, but then on top of growth, you can have growth with margin, right? I'm willing to grow. I want a 2x ETH or a 3x or something that gives me some margin, that I know that if it goes down in value, I might get liquidated in that position, but I might get 2x or 3x or whatever. I might get some margin on top of it, where I'm getting some borrowing power that's going to allow me to take $1 and basically get $2 worth of buying power out of it, knowing full well that if this underlying asset goes down in value, I'm going to get liquidated on it. Okay, so there's growth with margin as another incentive that we have. We also have derivatives, which is kind of what we're talking about, the growth with margin, or the 2x, 3x. We have derivatives there. We also have the liquidity pools. Okay, and liquidity pools are providing us with fees. So in order to provide liquidity to pools like Uniswap, Kyber, Balancer, things like that, protocols like that, you can actually get a fee. And of course, you know, for Uniswap, for example, if I wanted to be in the ETH Maker liquidity pool, I have to contribute an equal dollar amount of ETH and Maker. So on both sides of the equation, I need to contribute both of those. Well, if I'm sitting over here holding a bunch of DAI, for instance, and I wanted to get into this pool and earn some income, if I contribute both of these, I'm going to get a little bit of the transaction fee. So every time someone either takes ETH to buy Maker or uses Maker to buy ETH on Uniswap, I'm going to get a little bit of that fee if I'm participating in this liquidity pool, but all I have in my wallet is DAI. Well, in the past, I would have to figure out how much ETH I have to buy, how much Maker I have to buy to contribute to that pool, and then take that Uniswap token that I now have and see how much liquidity fees I'm getting, and then if I still wanted more access to ETH, I'd have to go buy it. But what DeFi Zap originally did, and now Zapper, is create this really ingenious way to utilize the composability of Ethereum to be able to do all of this in one transaction. So if I know I want 100 DAI worth of exposure to this particular liquidity pool, I just hit that zap, and within one transaction, which saves me in fees, it saves me in time, it saves me in headache and everything, I can buy into this, basically into this liquidity pool, and know that I'm now earning without having to go through all these transactions. And this sits in my wallet that I see on what used to be the DeFi Snap dashboard, which is now the Zapper.Fi dashboard. So this is really important, inventive. From one perspective is this. again, there are all these incentive mechanisms in the DeFi world. So where this is really important is, one, the lowering of the number of transactions. Okay, what that means is not just that it lowers my transaction fees. All right, but when we're trying to onboard new adopters of decentralized finance and adopters of these kinds of protocols, we need to make it easier for them. And trying to explain to them to buy ETH and Maker, contribute to a liquidity pool, is not very easy. If you go, okay, here's this investment, we've packaged it all up for you. We've given you the package. We'll kind of tell you what it does on this side, and honestly, it doesn't really matter. Here's what happens. When you buy into this particular investment, you get paid some level of income, and you're exposed to the growth or loss of these underlying assets. Okay? That's what happens. You don't really have to worry about what happens on the back end. We'll explain it to you if you want. But in the traditional finance world, this is kind of like several ETFs we might have. It's like several mutual funds. It's like all sorts of different funds that you can invest in, where you go, look, I want to invest in a fund that gives me exposure to oil and gas, or a fund that gives me exposure to the developing world. I don't have to know every single thing they're buying. I just have to know I want exposure to the developing world. In this case, I want exposure to the liquidity pools on Uniswap. Show me which ones are producing a decent return with assets that maybe I've heard of, like ETH and Maker, ETH and Chainlink or something. Show me the ones with assets that I've kind of heard of, because I have some confidence in those, and just get me into those investments, pay me a little bit of income, and I'll participate in the growth of the value of those assets as well. That's what Zapper.Fi has created, is this ability to easily get into those investments without having to really know the inner workings of how to do it. Just like I can go find some companies in the developing world. I can go find ways to invest in oil and gas directly, but I'd rather invest in an ETF that kind of does it for me. I'd rather invest in someone that does all the research and figures it out and goes and finds me the income, or finds me the growth, or finds me those investments. That's what they've created. So the excitement somewhat here is in Zapper, in what they've done, in the fact that I can connect my wallet and easily go buy into some of these liquidity pools and buy into some of the investments that have been composed on top of one another. Because it might be I'm getting, and they've done this at Zapper, it might be that I'm getting income from this liquidity pool, but I also wanted the full exposure to ETH. So they've, in addition to this, getting this investment, they've gone and gotten me some sort of 2x ETH margin token, so that if the value of ETH goes up, I didn't have to put like all of my 100 DAI into ETH. I put 50 of it into ETH and 50 of it into this other asset, into this other liquidity pooling, so that I got some income. And if ETH goes up 50, I still get the full 50, because I only use 50 of my DAI and I got half of it. Okay, so what they've done is they've used the composability to get me the same exposure with maybe some income based on my risk profile, and they can do it all in one transaction. And then within what used to be the DeFi Snap part, which is the dashboard, I can track how well that investment's doing. I can see all these investments I have, and I can roll back out. So I can reverse the transactions. Again, in one transaction, I can choose to do it, and it'll roll me out of all this, and I'm back to DAI or back to ETH or whatever I might want to be in, and I can roll on to the next one. Now, they've also created other tools, these what they call pool pipes, where you can go back and forth among Uniswap balancer, whatever it might be, whichever is paying the best at the time. If you want to just move your liquidity from one liquidity pool to another, they've created the ability now to do that, which is amazing. And the amazing part for us is obviously what they've already created, but looking forward into what these financial architects are going to be able to build in the future, is they're going to be able to build their own funds on top of this. And as we talked before in the financial architects video, the highly customizable portfolio I'm going to be able to have because of this, because someone can look at this and go, we're going to create for you, Adam, a portfolio that includes some exposure to some of these assets, plus some ability to earn income while you're holding on to these assets, because you need X amount of income every month or every quarter because you have to pay certain bills. They're going to be able to take this idea of composability, of putting several transactions into one, and build me my own personal portfolio that not only can I go into very easily, but I can also track, because we combine these two to create this. So now I can track it on the dashboard. I can probably track it in my, I'm going to be able to track it in a wallet at some point very easily, to where I can have these kind of portfolios, these assets, all together with these different incentive structures that are going to pay me some income, give me some growth potential, obviously subject me to some risk here that if values start to go down, some things might get liquidated or I might lose some value here, but I'm always able to get the income from the liquidity pool. So this is what is going to happen, and we're excited about the financial architecture that's being built, the idea that they're building this and people are using it. So we're actually seeing the growth of tools like Zapper.Fi, but what we're also seeing is the ability for others to build on top of it and create their own funds and potentially their own zaps, as they call them, and their own ability to go into these different incentive structures and build very customized portfolios for themselves and eventually for clients. And that's what we're really excited about. So when we look at the future of asset management and asset managers, these financial architects, this is what we see. Is composability. It's projects like this, it's companies like this that are able to look out in the future and say, as long as we can do all this on Ethereum and decentralized finance, we can build the tools that many different asset managers and almost anyone can go build this. And by the way, because it's on the blockchain, it's very transparent. We can audit it. We can see what's actually happening. We can eventually show how to charge fees for this, so that those same financial architects that are building on different protocols can also build on this and help me create a very customized portfolio, a customized risk, income, growth portfolio for myself. So that's why we're really excited about Zapper.Fi. We wanted to tell you about it in this week of asset management and of financial architects. So we hope you'll subscribe to the channel here. We hope you'll visit us, interaxis.io. Follow us on Twitter at interaxis8, the number 8, and we hope to see you in the next video.